think the PGA Championship, I looked at the leaderboard and I'm like, well, I want to watch Rory. I thought it was a pretty pretty good last couple hours, wasn't it, John?
None of the big dogs did anything tonight. It was there for the taking. Rory kind of came in a little
Yeah.
sleepy, started slow, and then you're watching a couple holes in. You're like, he could steal this thing. All of a sudden, we'll be talking
Yep.
Grand Slam going to Shinnecock here in a month. But I that's as bad of a big round Rory's had in a long time. I mean, he's blown some tournaments like
Yeah.
the Bryson stuff, but today he looked more like me or you out there than his typical self.
Yeah, he just didn't have it. You could see his body language. He kept kind of, he's talking to his caddy throughout. He just didn't play particularly well, and so be it. So, I wanted to talk some football because we haven't talked in a while, and I thought it was really interesting. One of the Albert Breer was on my show the other day, and it's like I learned this years ago. He was a writer at USA Today, John Saraceno, and this was like God, this was in the like 90s. And we were talking one time about journalism, and he goes, you can write the same story two ways. If people treat you poorly, over the course of a journalism career, if somebody just consistently is a pain in the ass, you're a human being. You can write the same story two different ways. And I think the NFL's always done that. Schedules are not even though the hardest and the weakest New England's last year was historically weak, but it's not as statistically the gap isn't the Grand Canyon. But the Niners playing 58 time zones and coming from Australia and then not getting a Monday night game, an extra day's rest while the Rams do, did you kind of feel like Albert Breer brought this up that, Kyle being outspoken, NFL does not like friendly fire. They never have. They will punish you if you don't fall in line. I mean, they do it with networks. When John, you may not remember this, maybe you do. Remember
No,
Playmakers?
I watched it in my freshman year in
The
college. It was my favorite show on television, Colin.
Okay. Okay. There is no question. NFL punished ESPN 5 years in a row, gave them crap games, punished them. And it was their way of slapping their hand and saying, don't glamorize the ugly parts of our game, which are allegations to begin with. Probably most at some point were true, on some steroid, performance
Colin,
enhancing
it was
stuff.
the
I don't
league. I
remember
mean, it
exactly what
basically
we.
paralleled what was going on in the NFL at the time. It was real, but it was just fake.
And so, and I worked at ESPN, and I said it on the air when I was there. I'm like, oh, we're being punished. There's no question. So, do you think they punished the Niners and Kyle Shanahan?
Well, I think we got to go back to Belichick. He was always at those league meetings. He refused to take the picture. He was the one guy that always really got after it. And I'm not even talking about the suspensions and the stuff. He always had a big beef with the people in the league office, had never coached. Most of them had never played. They did not know what it was like to try to operate the thing making the money. And it's where he always butted heads. And he took it to the nth degree. I do think Kyle, I mean, Kyle's had money since he was a kid, so Kyle carries himself, and now he's really successful. I don't think he's afraid to piss people off, right? He's not afraid to piss people off in his own building. He is not happy with the international travel and specifically this game. I don't disagree with him. I think Australia, I think we could talk big picture. Like I'm not one of those people. I know you're not either. I'm not just like anti-successful people. You're either growing or dying. The
Right.
NFL, I think is it tapped out domestically? How much bigger can it get? No one
Yeah.
wants to just, well, they're making enough. That's not how people think. Now, is this going to work in 20, 30 years? We'll look back. I don't know. But I could see Australia. I mean, these two teams have to fly 16 years. I thought when he was at the owners' meetings with Florio and LaFleur kind of poked him, his main beef was with the Rams. You lived in Los Angeles for a long time. The 49ers have all their home games at Levi Stadium, and they have two other home games in Los Angeles, where they have. I went to a game there once. It felt like 75%
Oh
Niner fans.
God.
Same deal here in
Absolutely.
Arizona. They have multiple Niner home games. So the Rams, when they were going to get one of their games, they found out they're going to Australia. They start going to the league. Kevin Demoff, very well connected. We want the Niners. And so Kyle's going, well, of course they want us because at their home game, they got to go on silent count. So but I also think Kyle's much more in the school of a Bill or Sean Payton, where he's not afraid to piss people off. It doesn't mean like Andy Reid, just because he's a nice guy, isn't making his displeasures known. I actually have
Right.
no problem with the no Monday night game because I thought the league did give him a solid. They do get the Dolphins and the Cardinals. This Australia game's huge.
Yes.
Whoever wins that game, I think we would both agree, is going to feel like 3 wins because of the travel.
Yeah.
But if you do lose it, to get the Dolphins and the Cardinals, if you're the Niners, I think it's a pretty easy
Yeah.
2 home games. I actually think the Monday night game, if you told me I could get the next week the Dolphins at home, because they're going to, by the time they land, it'll be like Friday night. They do get Saturday, Sunday to kind of act. Because once you go the
Yeah.
Monday night game, then it just gets you off a little bit. Now, if you win the Australia game, it won't necessarily matter. You'll be feeling pretty good. But I don't think the Niners necessarily got screwed with that. You could argue, Colin, the Rams and the Packers playing that Wednesday Thanksgiving game, they don't get a bye. Their bye is the previous week, where usually you get another week till you play on Sunday. That's their bye from mine, unless I'm misreading everything that I saw. Am I correct on that? And then they play that Wednesday. So they get the week off, like they play on Sunday, week off, and then they play on Wednesday because the league, because of those rules, couldn't play the previous weekend on Saturday because of college and high school football, right? So I'd argue the Rams, they don't just get a normal bye throughout the Packers too. Like that sucks. Like you don't think they're displeased with that? Like this is what happens
Yeah.
with the expansion, the international game. These teams, a
Yes.
lot of these GMs, talk to these coaches, they are furious. Now, a lot of them don't have the juice or the equity to say what Kyle's saying. They're all thinking it.
Well, yeah, and I will say this, that the international games used to get Jacksonville. I think the NFL has looked at research, looked at merch sales, and said, guys, we got some momentum here. We are really building something. So I will give the NFL credit. And I mean, I own the volume. I mean, I know the understanding is you don't stand pat or you get gobbled up. You have to grow. That's the reality of business. You're trying to create scale. It makes you more powerful. You can buy better shows. If you stand pat in any business, you're dead. So the NFL, and I'll tell you something. When I go to Europe. I try to go every year with my son. It's our kind of dad son thing. We try to. He goes and he's still in college. He'll go over, do a class abroad every year in the summer, and I'll go over early with him. His mom will go over late. And I see NFL stuff. Not a ton of it, but I see some of it. And so it's like, oh, yeah, you'll go to a sports bar, you'll go to a pub, and you'll see stuff. And it's like, oh, look at that. And so I'm going to defend the NFL and the international games. Brazil felt like, wow, that is just that. Remember the Packers, Eagles went over there. But, I always push back. I'll give you an example. College football playoff. It's going to maybe go to 24. Everybody freaks out, John. Well, the regular season won't matter. Well, the college football playoff was 12 last year, and the ratings were up from previous years. So they tripled the size of the playoff, or actually had a playoff, and the ratings went up. Well, nobody will care about Auburn, Alabama. Folks, Auburn versus Alabama is going to matter in that state for the rest of my life. Texas, Oklahoma, those teams could be 0-5. Texas, Oklahoma is going to matter. I grew up in Washington State. The Apple Cup, some years it was insane because somebody was going to the Rose Bowl. I went to several. It was always huge. So, I mean, and we can circle back to that later, but my point is, I think international is just
I'll
part
give
of
you
it.
one. The 49ers, they play 2 games, right? Australia and Mexico City. They want to go to Mexico City. I think if you just ask casual guy who's got the biggest Mexican fan base, they'd be like Cowboys, Raiders. I bet if you quantified it, the Niners would be every bit as big, if not bigger. They actively wanted to play that game in Mexico City. They did it a couple of years ago. I think ownership-wise, I don't know if Kyle would agree. They probably do it every year, kind of like Jacksonville with London. and I think,
Right.
Kyle's salary and John's salary keeps going up. They're like, hey, we'll go to Mexico City every other year. They want that. They have no problem with that game. I think the Australia, the Brazil, like clearly anyone that's met some from Australia, they love sports over there. I do think the time zone, as someone that likes golf and you watch it, sometimes when time zone gets off, look, they have to play that game at 10:35 Australian time to kick off. Now, for them, they'll acclimate. Weird time for the people over there. like I understand the UK, London, France, they've expanded into Germany. 16-hour flight, Colin. I
Yeah.
mean, you've been on some long flights. That's a long time. I mean, that's a that's a long.
Listen,
What would you guess if they're playing that game technically Thursday for us, Friday that they leave Saturday the previous week? I mean,
honestly, it's I've never gone to Australia. I once asked Lachlan Murdoch. The
yeah,
Murdochs are from Australia, and Lachlan obviously owns Fox. I asked him once, hey, I was thinking about going to Australia. Lachlan's a really nice guy. I mean, just really, really cool guy. I mean, if you're around him, he had a party at his house once I was invited to. I walked in, he's knocking down Australian
heck yeah,
beer. Like he's
Foster's.
just a regular guy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, he's got just a cool setup in his house. But he said, it's like you live in Manhattan Beach, don't you? It's just like Manhattan Beach, don't go. So I think for a lot of the West Coast players, California has sort of an Australia feel to it. Now, if you take, I don't know, I people grumble about change and growth, but I got to tell you, if I was a pro player and I got to play in Brazil or Australia, I think maybe if I was a veteran, I wouldn't love it. But if I could open my season there, I think it would
I
be
think
kind of
players in
cool.
general are less phased, right? No different than like I think sometimes employees or whatever are less phased by than management. Like I think everyone looks at it through a different lens. I think that's something that keeps coaches up at night and front offices up at night.
Yeah,
You think Chris
sure.
McCaffrey's lost much sleep about it? He's probably already got some hyperbaric chamber that will travel in the travel case. Matt Stafford, they're already preparing, sending food over there. So if it doesn't, the players, they adapt. I remember working for Pat Hill. He's like, players adapt so much faster than coaches believe.
Yeah,
Pro, college, you name it. You could play on the moon tomorrow. They'd be like, okay, where do I put my cleats? And I think sometimes, and we talk a lot about it because the coaches talk all the time, so we react to them. Then you hear the players talk, yeah, no big deal, we'll be ready. And you know what I found fascinating about the Rams is, whenever I come down to do your show and I'm in Los Angeles, obviously I spent most of my life in
yeah,
California, but I'm from Northern California. In Northern California, the Giants, the Warriors under Steph has become this huge brand, and obviously the Niners are like the Yankees of football up there. LA has that. It's just the Lakers and the Dodgers. The Rams are one of the
right.
rare, they're way bigger nationally than they are. Like you go
Yeah,
locally, the
yeah,
Dodgers feel like the Yankees down there, right? And the Lakers are just have
yes.
historic, ingrained soul to the people. The Rams just don't. And people, some people push back. It's like, guys, they went to St. Louis for a long time and they were winning some Super Bowls.
Also, they were the Orange County team. That was really, if you looked at LA was Raiders territory, Chargers was San Diego, the Rams. I remember Bob Starr was the play-by-play guy. The Rams never felt like LA. The Raiders felt like
Yeah.
LA. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they've done a great job in Los Angeles to build. I mean, how lucky are they? They have Stafford and McVay and Stan Kroenke, and there's a lot I see during the season. You see a lot of L.A. Rams stuff in the city, but I don't know. The other schedule. It's funny. People say the toughest schedule was the Bears, and I'm like, I think Kansas City's schedule, having to face Josh Allen, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, 3 weeks in a row, all on the road, followed by Drake May, Justin Herbert, Brock Purdy. I'm like, that's six Pro Bowl-ish quarterbacks in a row. If you go 500, I mean, honestly, you'd feel good about that.